Hello and welcome to the lesson. We are continuing with the revision of the paper known as Meetings, Compliance and Administration under the Certified Secretary syllabus. Today we're going to start the revision of the paper that was examined on Wednesday, 7th December 2022. The paper had 5 questions and candidates were required to answer all the questions. Today we're going to only tackle question number 1. Then in subsequent sessions we'll do the rest of the questions. Question 1A reads, explain 5 types of company meetings, 5 marks. B, summarize 5 considerations an organization should make while selecting the technology for virtual meetings, 5 marks. C, highlight 5 matters that may be discussed during the first board meeting of a company, 5 marks. D, evaluate 5 corporate governance considerations by a company prior to listing in the Securities Exchange, 5 marks. So we'll first answer part A, explain 5 types of company meetings, 5 marks. Types of company meetings. This was an easy one. One type of a company meeting is the annual general meeting. The second type is the extraordinary general meeting. Number 3, board meetings. Number 4, committee meetings. Then lastly, we may have what we call creditors meetings. Those are 5 types of company meetings. 5 types of company meetings. Part A. These are the 4 types of company meetings: the annual general meetings, extraordinary general meetings, board meetings, and board committee meetings. Then we have creditors meetings. 5 types of company meetings. Now, an annual general meeting. The first one is the annual general meeting. The annual general meeting is a statutory meeting. It is a statutory meeting held once a year where shareholders gather to discuss company matters, including the approval of financial statements, the election of directors, the appointment of auditors, and any other significant business. That is what may take place during the annual general meeting. It is a statutory meeting, meaning that it is a meeting that is mandatory. It is a meeting that is sanctioned by a statute. Like in Kenya, the Companies Act stipulates that public companies must hold an annual general meeting once a year. Annual means annually, every year. So this is one type of a company meeting. Then there is the extraordinary general meeting. Now, an extraordinary general meeting is a meeting called outside the regular annual general meeting to address specific urgent matters that require shareholders' approval. Such matters may include major corporate transactions. If a company needs to make a major corporate transaction which cannot be approved by the board of directors that require the shareholders, then an extraordinary general meeting may be convened. Or if there are any changes to the company's constitution. If the company desires to change the constitution, then the company may call an extra general meeting because change to company constitution may need the approval of the shareholders or any other important resolution. If there is any other important resolution, apart from the examples I've given, then the company may convene an extraordinary general meeting. The third type of meeting is a board meeting. Board meetings are convened for the directors of the company to discuss and make decisions on strategic matters, on financial performance, on governance issues, and any other key aspects of the company's operations. So a board meeting is a meeting that is held by the directors of a company, and such meetings are essential for effective management and oversight of the company. I know you've learned a lot in boardroom dynamics in relation to board meetings. All right. Then there is the committee meetings, board committee meetings. Such a committee could be, say, the audit committee, the remuneration committees, the nomination committee, the risk management committee. Those are examples of board committee meetings which hold separate, such committees hold separate meetings to discuss on specific areas of the company's affairs. And candidates board committee meetings allow for in-depth discussions and recommendations before decisions are prepared or presented to the full board. So the board may constitute committees to discuss specific areas like the audit committee, the nomination committee, the risk management committee, and so on. Then lastly, creditors meetings. Creditors meetings. Now, in case of a financial distress or in case of insolvency, creditors meetings may be called to provide an opportunity for creditors to discuss and vote on matters related to the company's financial restructuring, liquidation, or other actions affecting the interests of the creditors. So these are types of company meetings. Number 1, annual general meeting. Number 2, extraordinary general meeting. Number 3, board meeting. Number 4, committee meetings. Then lastly, creditors meetings. 5 marks. 5 marks. That is part A. Then part B says, summarize 5 considerations an organization should make while selecting the technology for virtual meetings. Considerations an organization should make while selecting technology for virtual meetings. Virtual meetings are meetings that are held online, or we can say are meetings that are held on digital platforms as opposed to physical meetings. These are meetings held on digital platforms. So what are the considerations an organization should make while selecting technology for such meetings? The first consideration is accessibility and compatibility. Accessibility and compatibility. The selected technology should be easily accessible to all participants, regardless of their location or device. The technology should also be compatible with different operating systems and devices to ensure seamless connectivity and participation, accessibility and compatibility. So these are two considerations, two in one: accessibility and compatibility. Security and privacy. Virtual meetings should involve the sharing of sensitive and we know that when meetings are held online, there could be confidential information that is shared. There could be sensitive information that is shared while holding virtual meetings. So the chosen technology should provide robust security measures such as encrypted communications, such as access controls, in order to protect against unauthorized access or data breaches. So the technology that is selected when that is chosen when holding virtual meetings should be one that is secure and provides for privacy. Another consideration is reliability. Reliability, we can say, and stability. Reliability and stability. The technology should have a reliable infrastructure and a stable network to ensure uninterrupted and smooth virtual meetings. There ought to be stable network connectivity to ensure uninterrupted and smooth virtual meetings. And it should be able to handle the expected number of participants and provide a high quality audio and video experience. Reliable and stable. If it's a meeting of, say, 500 shareholders, then the technology selected should be one that can accommodate the 500 shareholders. You don't go for one that accommodates 40. It ought also be reliable. It should be reliable enough to ensure that there is no interruptions during the meetings. Then there are also collaboration features. Collaboration features. The technology should offer collaborative features that facilitate effective communication and interaction among participants. And that may include screen sharing, they may include the chat functions, it could include polling, as well as document sharing capabilities in order to enhance engagement and productivity during the meeting. There ought to be collaborative features. Other than the audio, there should also be other features like the one that allows screen sharing or information to be shared or documents to be shared and so on. 5. User friendliness and technical support. User friendliness and technical support. The technology should be user-friendly. The technology should have what we call intuitive interface that allows participants to easily navigate and use its features. Additionally, adequate technical support should be made available to assist participants in troubleshooting any issues that may arise during the virtual meeting. So these are 5 considerations an organization should make while selecting technology for virtual meetings. 1, accessibility and compatibility. Number 2, security and privacy. Number 3, reliability and stability. 4, collaborative features. 5, the technology should be user-friendly, and one that supports, that enables the participants to get technical support. 5 considerations, 5 marks. 5 considerations, 5 marks. Part C reads, highlight 5 matters that may be discussed during the first board meeting of a company. Matters that may be discussed during the first meeting of a company. Matters that may be discussed during the first meeting of the company. Such matters could be 1, the appointment of key officers of the company. Appointment of key officers. The second matter that can be discussed during the first meeting of a company is the adoption of articles of association. Adoption of articles of association. Another matter could be the establishment of committees. Establishment of committees. Another matter that could be discussed is the approval of financial policies and procedures. Then strategic planning can also be discussed during the first board meeting of a company. During the first board meeting of a company. During the first board meeting. During the first board meeting of a company. I've said 1 matter that can be discussed is appointment of key officers. Appointment of key officers. The appointment of key officers. The board may discuss and decide on the appointment of key officers of the company, such as the company executive officer or the chief executive officer, the chief financial officer. Another key officer could be the company secretary. And in such a meeting, there could be considerations such as the roles of the key officers. The company can also discuss or come up with the responsibilities of the key officers, the compensation packages of the key officers, and so on. So those are, the meeting may include such considerations. Appointment of key officers. 2, adoption of articles of association. The adoption of the articles of association can also be discussed during the first board meeting of a company. The first board meeting of the company. The board may review and adopt the company's articles of association, which outlines the rules and regulations governing the company's internal affairs and the rights and obligations of shareholders and directors. Adoption of articles of association can be discussed at the first board meeting of a company. 3, establishment of of board committees. Establishment of the committees of the board. If necessary, the board may establish the board committees such as the audit committee, the risk management committee, the remuneration committee, the nomination committee, to assist in specific areas of governance and oversight. And that involves determining the composition of the committees, the terms of reference, and also reporting mechanisms for each committee. Now, during the first board meeting of a company, another matter that can be discussed is the approval of financial policies. Approval of financial policies. Approval of financial policies and procedures. Approval of financial policies and procedures. The board may discuss and approve financial policies and procedures, including budgeting, including financial reporting, including internal controls, including risk management frameworks, which may help ensure proper financial governance and accountability. Then lastly, strategic planning. We all know that the board plays a strategic role in the management of any company. So during the first meeting, the board may discuss strategic planning. The board may engage in strategic discussions to set the company's vision, mission, and long-term objectives. And that includes evaluating the market opportunities, the competitive analysis, and also considering strategic partnerships or investments that align with the company's goals. Strategic planning. So these are 5 matters that may be discussed during the first board meeting of a company. Number 1, appointment of key officers. Number 2, adoption of articles of association. Number 3, establishment of board committees. Number 4, approval of financial policies and procedures. Then lastly, strategic planning. 5 matters, 5 marks. 5 matters, 5 marks. That is part C. Then part D, evaluate 5 corporate governance considerations by a company prior to listing in the Securities Exchange. Evaluate 5 corporate governance considerations. Corporate governance considerations by a company prior to listing the Securities Exchange. Prior to listing in the Securities Exchange. Now, the first consideration, corporate governance consideration, is board composition and independence. The second one is financial transparency and reporting. The third consideration is risk management and internal controls. The fourth one is shareholder rights and protection. And lastly, ethical standards and code of conduct. Ethical standards and code of conduct. So those are 5 considerations by a company prior to listing in the Securities Exchange. board composition and independence. Number one, board composition and independence. The company needs to ensure that its board of directors comprise a suitable mix of independent directors who can provide objective oversight and safeguard the interests of shareholders. And that includes considering their qualifications, their experiences, considering diversity, and also considering independence criteria as per applicable regulations. Because when listing at the Securities Exchange, then the company seeks funding from the members of the public, and there are regulations in as far as corporate governance are concerned, where the company should ensure that it has a suitable mix of independent directors, not just the executive directors. There ought to be a mix of both executive and the independent directors. Independent directors are directors who provide objective oversight. These are directors who safeguard the interests of the public, the interests of the shareholders. So when listing at the Securities Exchange, the company should consider board composition and independence. Number two, financial transparency and reporting. Financial transparency and reporting is also another matter, corporate governance matter, that the company should consider prior to listing in the Securities Exchange. The company must establish robust financial reporting practices and ensure transparency in its financial disclosures. And that involves adhering to the accounting standards, conducting regular audits, and providing timely and accurate financial information to shareholders and to the regulatory authorities. Financial transparency and reporting must be considered. Three, risk management and internal controls. Risk management and internal controls. Effective corporate governance requires the establishment of robust risk management frameworks and internal control systems. So the company needs to identify and manage potential risks, implement control mechanisms, and regularly assess and report on the effectiveness of such measures. Risk management and internal controls. Why? Because when listing at the Securities Exchange, the company seeks to get funding from the members of the public. So to protect the interests of the shareholders, then the company must ensure that there are robust risk management and internal controls. Do you understand? Yes. Number four, the fourth corporate governance consideration is in relation to shareholders, the shareholder rights and protection. The rights of the shareholders and protection of shareholders. The company should have mechanisms to protect the rights of shareholders, including the right to vote, the right to receive timely information, and the right to participate participate in decision-making processes, and that may involve establishing procedures for general meetings, procedures for proxy voting, and ensuring fair treatment of all shareholders, including the minority shareholders, all shareholders. That is point number 4. Point number 5 is ethical standards. Ethical standards and code of conduct. Ethical standards and code of conduct. Ethical standards and code of conduct. Ethical standards and code of conduct is a corporate governance consideration by a company prior to listing at the Securities Exchange. Now, candidates, a strong corporate governance framework promotes ethical behavior and sets a clear code of conduct for directors, management, and also employees. So the company should establish policies and procedures that promote integrity, accountability, and compliance with relevant laws and regulations. So these are 5 corporate governance considerations by a company prior to listing at the Securities Exchange. The first consideration is board composition and independence. Number 2, financial transparency and reporting. Number 3, risk management, internal controls. Number 4 is shareholder rights and protection. And lastly, ethical standards and code of conduct, 5 marks. So we've answered the December 2022 question 1. The subject is meetings, compliance, and administration. In our next lesson, we are going to answer question number 2. I encourage you to attempt question 2 before attending the next lesson. Thank you. God bless you. Bye-bye.